All right, so Happy New Year. It's officially January 1st, 2026. So this is a industry writer, goes by the name of Ryan Tedder. I've never really heard of him before till recently. So he's on YouTube channel, podcast, and writer is. So it's another writer producer that interviews all people in music that write, produce. Let's hear what this guy has to say. Like I said, this is Ryan Tedder on And the Writer Is podcast.
The average amount, and some of you can fact check me on this, and I'm sure you'll use AI or whatever to do it. Go knock yourself out. The average amount of contributors to the average top 10 song across the entire calendar year of 2024 was 7.2. 7.2 contributors. Now that includes the artist. So there are some cases where the artist did not write the record, but across writers and producers, which at this point, with rare exception, like, for instance, on Miley Flowers, there's like 3 writers, and then there's a producer who was not a credited writer, right? That's extremely rare. So let's say 99%, roughly 98, 99% of the songs that came out in 2024 had 7.2 contributors. And I say contributors, really it's writers. 6, call it, if you even want to round down, but it's 6 to 7 average per top 10 in 2024. Now watch the numbers.
That's 16.67% or
Yes.
14.28%.
There you go.
So those of you who are looking for 100% of the pie, when you have 6 or 1 of 7, that's the percentages you're talking about.
Here's where the middle class gets destroyed in this. And this is why I said in our first half of this. Funny enough,
I do think this is an interesting conversation. Those who are like, oh my God, I have no idea. Go ahead and replay those numbers as you learn this.
Watch.
Because this is the business.
Watch where I go with this. Okay. In 2005, well, first of all, like my first platinum record, I did 100% of a song that was on Tattoo's last big hit, right? And I was the B-side on the thing, and it ended up doing 1.5 million copies. So you can do the math. I made like 120 grand off just a B-side on a Tattoo single, right? 2004, I think it was. 2005. I'm doing this because we're in 2025. So I want to use 20 years, right? It's easy. It's an easier number for everyone here to digest. And that's about when you and I started getting into music full time, right? So in 2005 in LA, anywhere in the world, if you wrote a third of a song on an album that sold 5 million copies, you would make $150,000. Okay, $150,000 for 1/3 of an album cut on an album that sold 5 million copies. There were hundreds of albums that sold 5 million copies. You could move here with medium ambition and land an album cut and get 1/3 of it. Because here's the important fact. Follow the data. In 2005, the average amount of writers per top 10 across the entire Hot 100 for the calendar year was 3.2. In 2025, the average amount of contributors per Hot 100, per top 10 in the Hot 100 for the calendar year, 7.2. 150 million streams equals 1 million units sold. So you can make this comparison. 150 million. Okay, that's the album or single equivalent to platinum. I'm using the number 5 million. So like a hit album, right? You're on the Kelly Clarkson's album 2005. I think that did probably 5-7 million, something like that. You did 1/3 of the song of one album cut. You made 150 grand. $150,000 in 2005, when you factor in inflation, in 2025 is $256,000, $255,500, something like that, right? Round up, say 260 grand. That is a 60% decline in the value of the dollar since 2005. 60% decline because the government keeps printing money whenever we need it. So equivalent in 2025. So keep that number. 1/3 of one album cut on a 5 million copy selling album in 2005 nets you approximately 150,000, or in 2025 equivalents, 255,000. The average amount of songwriters, 3.2 on a top 10 in 2005. 2025, 7.2. The equivalent of 5 million albums sold is 750 million streams. It's 150 million times 5, right? So 750 million. If you own 100% of a song on an album cut, There is no album cut that streams. Maybe BTS
Yeah.
is the only, BTS or Taylor might be the only album in the world that would, where an album cut might stream 5 million times or 750 million times. Sorry. So if you have a song, if you're lucky enough to have 750 million streams, and you own 100% of the publishing, you're gonna make somewhere between 450 and 700 grand in there, depending on what DSP it streamed the most on. Did it stream mostly on Apple?
Wait,
Was it
hold on.
publishing? You're gonna make somewhere. If you're lucky enough to have 750 million streams, and you own 100% of the publishing, you're gonna make somewhere between 450 and 700 grand.
That puts things in perspective. Like if you have 750 million streams and you sold the song at 99 cents per download, that's $750 million. All right, we'll go over the streaming royalty right next after this, but this is interesting. Just like him putting it in perspective from somebody that's been in the business 20 plus 30 years or whatever it's been.
In there, depending on what DSP it streamed the most on. Did it stream mostly on Apple? Was it mostly on Spotify? So on and so forth. But let's just say, for argument's sake, 600 grand. Okay. Roughly $550,000, $600,000. Okay. Now, if you divide that by a third, you come close to the equivalent. You land at about 200 grand, 175 to 200 grand if you wrote a third of a 750 million streaming record, right? So 175 to 200 grand is approximately what you would make. So you're still 20 to 25% below what a writer would make in 2005. But here's the problem. You aren't dividing 600 grand by 3. You're dividing it by 6 or 7. So when you divide that 600 grand by let's just use the number 6, right? Let's just say round down. I'll be nice, generous. 6 writers per song. Round down, you have 100 grand. You have $100,000. But $100,000, now think about 100 grand in 2025 money is 60 grand in 2005 money.
It's like $85,000.
And that's really
So-
more often than not, that's a smash.
So that's a
Like
smash. So
150 million streams.
exactly. So the number is you went from, to compare 2005 to 2025, factoring in inflation, the power of the dollar, purchasing, whether you want to buy a car, house, a hamburger, hot dog, factoring in inflation, the average writer in 2025 on an typical, or 2024, sorry, in a typical top 10 streaming Billboard, record, a record that does 750 million streams, 5 million equivalent sales, factoring in 6 writers, which is less than the actual data, you are making the equivalent of 60 grand in 2000, and that's a smash in 2005 money. Whereas the average one third writer of the same equivalent hit in 2005 is making 2025 money, 255 grand, 60 grand, 255 grand. You can live off of one. What I would say, one can buy you down payment on a house. One might get you a car.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, getting a song that streams 750 million times in this era is crazy. And then you better pray that they go to radio with it. I have a song right now we're at 2.2 billion. I'm not gonna say who the artist is on. The label never went to radio. 2.2 billion streams.
I mean, why would they?
It came out.
And this is
it went viral a year and a half ago. And
this
they
is the
never
thing. Like,
serviced
why
it.
would you ever go, if you're a label, why would you go to radio on a song that's just printing cash?
Yeah.
Because it costs a fortune to go to radio.
1.2 to 1.5 million dollars. When just so everybody knows.
So why would any label ever go?
So check it out. So here's another thing that writers should understand, and artists and managers and whatever. Songs on radio initially started as advertisements for an artist's album back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. You would put an Elvis song on radio, you'd start playing it to advertise the album. That would trigger album sales. Only way you can get this song, go down to your local record store. Labels would pay the radio stations to play the song. That's the payola. It was legal until it wasn't, because they're paying for advertising. Like, they have their regular scheduled programming and their news hour and their entertainment hour and all that stuff. And if you want us to interrupt regular scheduled programming to play music, then you better pay us. So that's how it started. It was to advertise the album. And obviously then it shifted when radio programmers realized, oh, humans like music, we should play it all the time. Here's Z100, you know? The problem is in the US, you know, different countries are different, but labels don't make a dime from radio. They make a fortune from masters and 360 deals. They don't make anything from radio. Radio is like the last bastion. That's the cherry on top of the whipped cream on top of the ice cream sundae, as one label executive put it to me 2 years ago. I said, do you even care about radio? Be honest with me. I'm not going to say who this person is. Do you care about radio? And he goes, not really, man. And this is label exec. And then he paused and goes, wait a minute. Actually, that's not true. It is that last push. He's like, what it really helps holistically for the artist when they're touring. Radio really helps an artist like selling tickets.
Yeah, you want to sell out arenas.
You want to sell at arenas, you need radio.
You need
You have to have power radio, sell those tickets, right? But it costs to go to radio in the US is approximately top 40 is about 150 grand. Okay.
Wow.
Not crazy, but how many times can you throw out 150 grand before you're upside down? You need to know that the song has traction first. So then a lot of times artists and writers go, why is there a dislocation between radio play and streaming? And I follow a lot of blogs and a lot of people are angry. They want their artists. They're like, go to radio already. Why? Like the song's top 10 US Spotify. Why aren't you going to radio? And labels still will go, if we don't have to spend 150 grand, I don't want to. I want to make sure this song is sticking before we go to radio and drive it away. And then a lot of times what happens is the streaming story might come and go, and then you're trying to march that song up the radio charts.
That's just crazy putting it in perspective like that. I mean, I already knew that, but
Radio programmers, the programmers look at Spotify, they go, well, the song's dropped to number 40.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So you miss those windows, and then the writers miss out on the compensation. But the middle class what can I do? How can I? So I've kind of outlined the problem, right?
Yeah.
And I'm using real data
Sure.
here. We went from
3.2 to
from
7.2.
$255,000 equivalent income off 1/3 of one successful song just from sales alone to 60 grand, right? Which is obviously tremendously terrible. And
wow.
when you factor in inflation, 60 grand, it's probably more like 25, 30 grand, right? So
we can't control inflation.
No, but
really,
what
we can control.
But here's what else got inflated. Inflation doesn't just, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, is what dictates inflation. By the way, inflation is also, I think, fairly false, 2-3%. The government can control what they put in the baskets that determine the CPI. So if you can control the thing that goes in the basket that tells you how much money is going up or down, that's rigged. Like it's not fair. Anyway, that's a different topic. Going to inflation, how does the inflation, like financial inflation, right, with the US dollar, parallel songwriting inflation? Well, it takes more writers now, 2 times as many, 2 times as many, 3.2 to 7.2, roughly. It takes twice as many writers to achieve the same, to buy the same. You see what I mean? It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. It's almost, because we're pretty much in a 2-to-1 from 2005 now. It costs you $200 in 2025 to buy a product that was $100 in 2005. We are now using double the amount of people in the room to achieve the same song. Are songs twice as good now, or did I miss something?
No, there's some interesting things about looking at the songs that were nominated for Best Song of the Year. I think it was last year. I don't think one of them had more than 3 writers, or maybe it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, but
and that's so interesting.
Look who's in the room determining Best Song.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, the initial vote is everybody, and then
you've got veterans in a room going, "Wait a minute, I remember when songs had 3 writers."
But
yeah.
I've been in that room.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's some of that, but there's also the quality of the artists that often get that songwriting nomination are ones that are, obviously the Taylors and the Adeles and, some of these people you've written, the Ed Sheerans, like some of these people, tend to write with fewer people.
Correct.
and their identity shows more because the song's not
Yep.
diluted by 55 other, opinions. And I think that takes a strong artist manager, a braver record label, a more protective publisher. All these things need to happen versus like, I write really well with 50-50s. And whenever I book a 50-50 with specific writers, like inevitably some publisher somewhere says like, hey, can we add this person to the and I'm
always.
like, I think we can just do I write 50-50s. We don't need the other person. And I like that other person. I mean, I guess we can add them, but why did we just do that?
We don't.
I had an artist ask me last week to do just me and them. And it occurred to me when the manager or label asked me, would you do just a two-way with this artist? I wrote back, this is the first time I've been asked to do two people in a room in probably 2 years. And so I try to at least once every 3 to 4 weeks do a 100%er myself. I did one 2 weeks ago. Right. I just sat down.
I did one after our last
conversation
thing, and it was like,
it's refreshing.
It was refreshing.
You kind of, it's like a muscle. You have to prove. Like sometimes it's like I'm a runner. I don't run 8 miles every day, but every now and then you're like, I wonder if I could do 8 miles, and you just do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's the bar. By the way, the bar isn't go do 100% songs or you suck. That's not the deal. I keep saying this, like,
no,
be cautious, beware of the vibe guy in the room.
It's not, but it's not even just that. It's not just the vibe guy. It's the fact that we're giving. There's
more
always
to it than that.
There's that. It's the idea that, and what you're saying with that is the dilution of splits happen when not upsetting the artist by saying, well, you're not a writer on this. Not the guy who does co-production, additional production, drum programming, mixing,
That's me.
vocal production. They are not part of the song apparatus.
Yeah.
And it has become, there's a bullying aspect to it. There's a
Go back to the French
fear.
Go back to the French fry though.
Yeah.
The reason, in their defense, I can kind of steelman the position of the additional production, co-producer, track guy. When streaming has diluted how we make a living so significantly, there's still that one French fry, and we're all the seagulls, right? And so that is the reason. It's literally grasping at straws. It's like,
what's the solution? So when we've posted clips where I've said drum programmers are not songwriters, what I mean are people who add to an existing song. Correct. Not the guy who's in the room who's like starting the song from scratch, who's really who's basically doing the guy who's sitting at the piano in 2025. And somebody else writing a song with them. And
I can tell you some ideas.
But the people who add on after the song is written, why are we so afraid to say no?
I say no quite a bit to those guys. It depends on obviously who it is. It makes a difference, right? It's like it's funny though, because sometimes you'll send stuff to, I mean, listen, I probably produce 2 songs a year that I get called in to produce on, and I don't take publishing because I acknowledge what it is. I'm doing production on this. I'm adding to the production. I've done it even with artists I'm executive producing, like Tate, where go on her last album, you'll find a song that like, I'm not listed as a writer whatsoever, but I did a lot of production on it. And because I'm a little old school in that way, and I'm not trying to eat off everybody's plate.
Get it.
And I'm also acknowledging my position. I'm okay. I don't need it. So I'm not trying to do that. I think that one potential, there's 2 things. Number one, writers and artists have a very difficult time being straightforward with people. We're all like kind of afraid of our own shadow, don't want to offend anybody. If you're not going to be the person to do it, let your manager be the bad cop, good cop, bad cop. But you need to be straightforward with people. And I can tell you some writers who have held their ground for years, even when they weren't as big as they are now. And so is their management. Amy Allen's one of them. Like, Amy, Gabs. She just has like certain lines she won't cross. And she's, when you cross them, she gets pissed, and she will like dig her heels in and stick up for her own rights. That takes a spine. So part of it is some people need to grow a spine. And if it's not you, then it's your manager. And if your manager isn't, why are they managing you? First of all, there's a whole nother podcast about to be when you can't. Number two, how do you create different pots? And I go, okay, artist, when we thought the song was done, which happens all the time, you have a pot of master point ownership that I don't have as the producer. I have my points, but you have a much bigger pot. The label, hey, label has all the flexibility in the world, frankly. And I don't care. I'm friends with, I work with every label. I'm friends with all of them. I know all of them. Like I'm not.
But the bottom line is you can get paid several different ways if that song or project is being consumed in different ways. If you just put it out on streaming and just have it on your website for sale, there's only certain ways you're going to get paid off of it, how to get it in all those different avenues so you're receiving that back end.
But let's call a spade a spade. If the label needs solution number two, the label needs is like, production's not quite there. We need to bring in, I'm making up a name. We're going to bring in Mike Dean. I love Mike. We're going to bring in Mike Dean to do this thing, or we're going to bring in Louis Bell to do this thing.
And that's another thing. They're talking about like writing a song, writing a record. They create the record. They create the heart or the soul of the song. And then after the fact, it goes to somebody else like a Mike Dean. And then Mike Dean might rework it. He might rework the musical composition, might rework the drums. But then now he's liable for a piece of the pie because he's, after the fact, trying to take that record and push it over the top to get it to where it needs to be to the finish line.
Cool. It's not songwriting. You own 80 points or 75 last time I checked. You can afford more than anyone in this equation. Those buildings are built and paid for. All the decorations, all the parties on the backs of songs. They are the songs that built them, period. So how much will it hurt the bottom line to take, here's an extra point and a half, here's 2 points off the master side. We have a bucket of them to get this song to be amazing instead of mid. We have a hit now. We brought in Louis Bell. He's done production, but like he's a big boy and understands that like the song was fully written and done, and Lou is one of the good guys. And we broke him off freaking 2 points for additional production and also gave him whatever the case is, 20 grand, whatever it is, right? They can afford it more than anyone. The artists, if they don't have a JV deal, they're getting anywhere from 16 to call it 22 points. So artist management are going to be way more saber-toothed tiger about protecting those points. Some artists that were cool and they'll be like, you know what, just give them a freaking point. But the labels have the that's where you can push.
I think the point should also sometimes come off the top. You know, when I've been talking about giving a point to songwriters, I think that point should come off the top, not from, whatever the deal is. If it's a 50-50 deal, 80-20 deal, the point comes off the top and it reduces everybody's
99.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I think that's where the songwriter point or the additional production point or whatever, sometimes if it doesn't come out of the artist share, that it can be split in some way to take care of
I've done that with writers. I started the first time, I think was probably a year and a half ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, where I finally convinced the artist, the label, and everyone was like, we are giving this writer a point across these 3 songs. So it is doable. I think writers pushing for points. I will say this, like it's easier to do, obviously, if you've already been a proven hit maker, right? It's no different than increasing your fee, your producer fee per song, or the points per song. The longer you get in your career, the more hits you stack up, the more consistent you are, the more your points go up, the more your guarantees go up. It's just like artists touring. The more your ticket price goes up. It's easier to do. It's harder to do when you start. I hate to say it, just because this is a town where like you can very quickly. I know I'm saying good cop, bad cop. Your manager should be the one sticking up for you, or you should dig your heels in. Read the room at the same time, because early in your career, the worst thing that could happen is you get known as being very difficult to work with, or your manager is caustic or something. You don't want that.
The last 2 songs that I produced, I said to the label that I went in saying that we need to give a point to the non-performing songwriter.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to set a tone that, as somebody who's getting credited as a producer, that I'm looking out for the person who has the least amount of protection in the negotiations.
Yeah.
I think if the driver for the change for songwriter points will be producers and producer management who demand that their co-writers get taken care of.
Yeah.
Now, obviously,
All right, I'm going to stop it there for now, and then I'm just going to go into some of the royalty points that have changed recently. And for me, as a music producer and as an artist, independent, like no management, I'm not signing no one, I'm signed to my own, Scantless Music, and then I collab with other artists or other artists, entertainment entities. I'm trying to take, which I've always already done, is like, let me produce the whole project. And if there's someone that's like, hey, I got this beat from this producer, then yeah, no problem. Let's collab on this and make this work. But I'm usually the guy helping get the record, like helping start the record, and then I'm the guy that finishes the record. I'm the guy that helps take it over the top and add everything that needs to add to make it a final hit record or final good song, like digestible for the public. So the royalty rate now, so new music royalty rates for 2026 in the US. Physical formats, 13.1 cents per song and download. So if somebody pays for a song download, it's 13, you get 13% as a royalty. Streaming rates for songwriters reaching 15.3% of revenue. So 2025, 15.25% of service revenue. 2026, 15.3. 2027, 15.35. So the rate overall has went up. It's over 15% now. 12.7 cents per track. So if you have a song that's 5 minutes, someone listens to your 5-minute song, the rate for that is 12.7 cents per 5-minute song, or 2.45 cents per minute. Physical media and digital downloads, mechanical royalties. 2026 rates, the rate is scheduled to rise to 13.1. So you're talking about it's raising almost an extra penny per track, or $2.52 per minute, which I don't know where that comes in, because they're not paying you $2.52 per minute.
26. Streaming royalties. This is what most broadcasters actually feel in their wallet when they simulcast their station online. The per song, per listener rate that Sound Exchange charges is jumping this month. All of 2025, negative 0.0025 per play. That's a quarter of a penny. Starting January 1st, 2026, negative 0.0028 per play. So about 12% higher right away. Then it climbs a little each year. 2027, negative 0.0029. 2028, negative 0.00230. 2029, negative 0.0021. The yearly minimum fee per channel stream also goes from $1,000 right now to $1,100 in 2026, and up to $1,250 by 2030. You still have to pay that minimum by January 31st every year. Good news buried in there. Anything under 30 seconds, like song intros, stingers, or beds under talk, doesn't count as a performance anymore. So those are now royalty free. Bottom line, if you stream your station online and play a decent amount of music, plan on roughly 10 to 15% higher Sound Exchange bills starting this month. That's the new rate the NAB and Sound Exchange locked in last year to avoid a big legal fight.
Anyways, it's your boy D. Enough rambling. I'm out of here. You guys have a good new year. Like, subscribe, hit that button for me. I'm out.